there. Welcome to Storytime. I am Dr. Jennifer Bird. I'm a biblical scholar, and I care very much about what people do with what they find in the Bible. So that's what I do here at Storytime. I engage biblical passages, and I talk about them pretty directly without many filters on, and talk about how they impact people today. That's one of the things I love to do here at Storytime. And I've been working through Genesis lately together with you all, and that's been very fun. Sometimes I bring on a scholar, predominantly biblical scholars, to have a conversation with them about who they are and why who they are informs what they do, why that has been a piece of their story, and why what they've chosen to focus on is important, not just to them, but also to the field of biblical studies and to perhaps beyond. And so many, if you've seen some of our conversations, many of the scholars I've had on are focused on the field. And some of them, as in a couple weeks ago when we talked about trans-biblical, the collaboration around trans interpretations, it is specifically work that's meant to go beyond the academy and beyond just the scholars in the field. So I'm delighted today to bring on this conversation Valerie Bridgeman, and she is ordained as a Methodist. I'm pretty sure, I didn't check that part, but she was ordained in 1985, got her BA shortly thereafter, went on for an M.Div at Austin Theological Presbyterian, and then got her Ph.D. at Baylor, which is interesting. We overlapped for a year there at Baylor. She got her Ph.D. from Baylor in 2002. Currently, however, she is the Dean and Vice President for Academic Affairs. She's also an Associate Professor of Homiletics, which means preaching, and Hebrew Bible at Methodist Theological School in Ohio, which is in Columbus. What I imagine we will spend some time talking about as well is her company. She's the founder and CEO of WomanPreach Inc. And it does partner with her school, MTSO, to provide, you know what, I was going to have showing that website. Let me do that real quick while I'm describing this. I meant to do that. Sorry. Just pull that up. Yeah, let's see. So, right. So they do partner. They provide practical training and nurturing community spaces that empower preachers across the country. And of course, we're talking about women here. I think predominantly African-American women. MTSO and WomanPreach share a 5-year, $1.25 million grant from Lilly Endowment Inc., which is a very impressive size, by the way. Yeah, I was very impressed by that. And then celebrating their 15th year of this fall. So I'm impressed, and I don't know much about this beyond just learning about it here as I tried to prepare to have Dr. Bridgeman on. I do want to very briefly also just share the image of one of the books that she is a part of, that she has collaborated on. Let's see, let's do this one. And the Africana Bible, reading Israel's scriptures from Africa and the African diaspora. I'm going to read the description here for you all. So this is the second edition, which was 10 years after the first. So the landmark volume, the first version, gathered multicultural and interdisciplinary perspectives on the Hebrew Bible. It opens a critical window into the world of interpretation on the African continent and in the multiple diasporas of African peoples, including the African American experience, with an attention to Africana stories, literatures, cultures, and backgrounds for understanding biblical literature. The second edition included updated critical commentary on each book of the Hebrew Bible, and it also includes the Apocrypha and Pseudepigrapha that is authoritative for many in African and African diaspora communities worldwide. It highlights issues of concern to the global Black community, such as globalization and the colonial legacy, and the distinctive norms of interpretation in African and African diaspora settings. So those are some of the projects she has either been a part of or is heading up as a biblical scholar. So Dr. Valerie Bridgeman. It is the Reverend Dr. Valerie Bridgeman.
It's Valerie.
Valerie works. Okay.
Valerie.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to have you here on Storytime with me to have a conversation. Thank you for saying yes.
I'm glad to be here, Jennifer, if I may. Jennifer.
Yes, please. Yes. And this was a piece that we didn't discuss ahead of time, and that is, I very much myself here. I'm not trying to be an uptight scholar. I respect and appreciate that you and I have done the work, but I want to just have a conversation. So I'm kind of, honest and open. And I'm going to say for those who are here with us, and watching later, that you indicated you were a little surprised that I reached out to you. And so I want to explain why I reached out to you. I have to admit, I haven't read any of your work. You have a book of poetry out with a really cool title. Like, you've done, I know you have articles and books out there. I know you do. I just haven't read anything. So you're the first person I've had on that I haven't read your work. I invited you on because I have watched you, and I've told you this ahead of time, but I want them to hear. I've watched you from afar at SBL, or annual meetings. I listen to the way people talk about you. I see you showing up and doing really interesting work. I heard you speak up I had already planned to ask you, but I heard you speak up at the women's breakfast, SBL Women's Breakfast, and just your presence, who you are, what you use your voice to talk about is very impressive to me. And in biblical scholar settings, there aren't a lot of people who are engaged and alive in the way that you are. And you are so deeply respected by so many people in the field. And to be honest, even it kind of brought it all home for me when I started following you on Facebook and seeing everything that you post on Facebook. It's social justice issues. It's gotta raise awareness, right? I don't know if that's what you're thinking, but that's how I read it. Because you make a lot of things, you bring a lot of things to attention, shine a spotlight on things. So for me, it was just a selfish thing. I want to have a conversation with her. So even if you were
funny.
Right, even if you didn't know, because you mentioned, well, you don't have you don't have your own monograph yet, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. I understand why that's an issue, perhaps, in terms of, institutionally speaking. But as a human being doing really important work in the world, I'm excited to have you here. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna thank you.
Yes.
I'm gonna start by correcting you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Please do.
I will start by correcting you, first of all, about WomanPreach. So WomanPreach, we are participating in that 1.25
gotcha.
with MTSO, but we actually, and there's a collaboration just for the grant. We are a standalone institution, and we collaborate across schools, across churches, across other organizations. We've done a lot of different kinds of collaborations.
Okay.
We're thankful to MTSO for hosting and being willing to let us share to be the primary delivery.
Gotcha.
Of that grant.
Yeah.
So I don't want to sound like I'm not grateful, but I also want to say, our collaborations are far beyond MTSO.
Okay.
And part two, I want to say to you, I want to say to you is our work, though primarily Black women, we actually open our work to women of all areas. Jarena Lee Preaching Academy is the only thing we do that's directly related for African American women, right?
Okay.
And heretofore, we've been doing Sophie's Table ever so often to include men and non-gender conforming people who want to do that work as well. I don't know if we're going to continue to do that.
Okay.
That one, but we are
the middle one
to do work with women across.
Okay.
See, Gail?
Yep. Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that correction, because that's obviously important, but also
but it's not a unreasonable assumption. I mean, and here's why. We fully expect culturally, for Black people or people of color to just step in when white people are leading. Of course you're going to follow. But when an organization is led primarily by Black people, then we say, oh, it's just for Black people, as if Black people can't lead beyond the Black.
White people shouldn't follow when a Black person leads.
Right. I mean, it's a thing we do in this culture. Like we see something led by men and they say everybody's welcome, and everybody goes, of course they are. And then we see something led by women and we go, can men go?
Right. Is that a women's thing?
Yeah, right. It's just it's a part of our embedded sexism and racism.
It is.
It's in the air, in the water. We all have it. So I'm making an observation, not an accusation. It's just in the air, in the water. So that's kind of what we do.
Yes, thank you. And I mean, to follow up, when I looked through, I didn't notice there were other, there were people in your websites and things that were, beyond just African American women. And I mean, so both that I appreciate your point, and I want to just let your point sit out there. But I also, I just love the empowering that you're doing, right? I think that's a thing to celebrate.
So do I enjoy the empowering. I don't always know that we're doing it, but I think I said to you before we started, just in the last few months, I began a lot of text and emails and running into people saying, oh, you don't know how my ministry changed, how my, all of that changed because of WomanPreach. And partly because what we do is deeply related to my own commitments to sort of a lens for reading and hermeneutics. Like, what kind of questions are you asking of the biblical text before you start preaching? I mean, are you just in the habit of just preaching what you've always heard?
Been told, yes, right.
About this text, we especially if you preach from the lectionary, you've heard these texts before, right? And so why bother, kind of thing. But learning that when you start like going for the irritating question, the question that you might not ask out loud in Sunday school, it becomes a specifically good place to start with preaching.
It does.
I'll give you an example real quick.
Please.
One of our, we had some Forum for Theological Exploration interns, 5, I think in 2016, around that time. And one of them she did the internship. She wasn't interested in becoming a pastor or a preacher. And right now she is leading a nonprofit organization. So a lot of what we do is like, but you still have to speak publicly in the public square. And oftentimes you're talking to people who are imbibing these biblical imageries, even if they don't know the story. I mean, I know there are people who think Moses and Jesus was in the same time space.
Right.
I know.
Right.
No, because I've run into them.
Totally. I've taught them. Yes.
But these imageries or these metaphors from the text live out in the culture, even if people don't connect them to the Bible.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So,
giving people ways to interrogate or ask, coming at it from different angles is really helpful, really important. Yeah,
exactly. So this young woman, we gave her a text to work through, and it said something about the widows and children. I don't remember what the text was. I just remember her saying, I'm irritated by the fact that everybody's talking for the widows and the children. What if they had something to say? And that was her sermon.
Good.
And it was amazing.
I bet. I was just going to say, I bet that was like, that was right.
Yeah. This whole notion that we do all the speaking on behalf of people.
Right.
Yeah, it was amazing. Right. So I'm very proud of the impact WomanPreach is having. So yeah.
And collaborating beyond your own institution and area, I guess, since it's a separate thing, is really very something to be quite proud of, I'd say. Right.
Yeah.
So would you mind telling us a little bit about how you came to be a biblical scholar? Like what your story is that brought you here? Is that set up?
I become to be a biblical scholar? Well, I will say I probably have told this story 1,000 times, so this will be 1,001.
Okay.
I grew up in a hybrid Christian home, which is to say my mother was National Baptist, and my father, when he became a Christian, was Church of God Anderson, which is a holiness tradition.
Okay, a bit more.
So National Baptist is a predominantly Black denomination, you
Okay.
may or may not know. And the Church of God Anderson is not, but
That's
it's
what
a
I'm thinking.
holiness tradition.
Okay.
And so growing up, and my mother had a master's degree in education, and my father had an 8th grade education.
Okay.
My father went to the Army, all of that. And my father was one of the smartest people I ever knew without letters. He read everything.
Ah, good for him.
Right.
Yeah.
So what got nurtured in our house was curiosity.
Nice.
And learning.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a woman of a certain age, so I'm gonna date myself and said we had a set of encyclopedias
Right.
in the house.
Right.
And we had to come to the table with some new information every day.
Every day?
Teachers became like,
that's impressive.
Yeah. So we would go, well, did you know that such and such in Africa has a population of blah, blah, blah. And of course, we just ran in.
Exactly. But like you were doing that long before there's anything where you could just Google that, right? You're doing
long
that
before you could Google it. That's between that and the Reader's Digest that my mother had and the Ebony magazine that we got, we would come with these kind of new things to learn. Biblically, my father would sit in I still have his old Bible. I wish I'd have, with his marginality. He would write in the margins of his Bible. He would actually sometimes argue with the text. I have some of his indexes from when he was working on sermons, index cards, and he would underline things depending on what it was in different colors. And I mean, so he was always studying.
Yeah.
He was always studying the text. My dad.
But also asking questions like that. That's
right.
Someone who didn't.
Saw that. Think about, I'm a woman of a certain age. I saw that very early in my life.
Yeah.
My mother was the first person I knew that had a Bible that was not the King James Version.
Okay.
So my mother had a RSV, and she had one of those, it would be like the Message today, but I can't remember what it was called. That was put in everyday English. She was the first person I knew that didn't have a KJV. I mean, she had KJV, but
Yeah. What made her decide to have something other?
I don't know.
She just except
for my parents were curious and
people.
They were readers, and they made all of us that. And my mother, she would sit in the bathroom for the first hour of her day. So if you want to use the bathroom, you have to get there before her.
Right.
Until after her. And she would be doing her Bible study in, sitting in the bathroom because it was the place that was quiet.
I was just going to say away from everyone else.
There was a lot of us.
Okay.
There was 4 girls and a boy growing up in the house. So, So those are the things that I imbibed. I'll tell you one last thing that I imbibed was my grandfather. We lived next door to my mother's parents. My grandfather every night kneeled by his cast iron bed and prayed for 2 hours.
Whoa.
Every night.
Whoa.
But, and this is significantly, we would be running through the house and yelling and playing, and nobody ever told us that our noise was bothering him. So watching the spirituality while we played also kind of taught us God is not afraid of children playing. Does that make sense?
Totally. I love it. Yes.
Well, this is the culture that I grew up in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my dad, because of his Church of God and Holiness, and a lot of holiness people preach from the Old Testament a lot. And I say the Old Testament was the first Game of Thrones. And I just love the stories, right? Am I right?
Totally.
Yeah. Every time somebody says they want to ban a book, I'm like, you're gonna have to ban the Bible
That's right.
if it's about violence and
If there's
sex.
any book to ban, that would be first. Yes. Yes. And we teach it to kids, and we don't.
Of course, we chop it up a lot for
We
kids.
do. We definitely tone it down, give it edited versions, but still, yeah.
Deeply edited version.
Deeply. How much is left when we take out all the violence?
Right. But yeah, so hearing my dad preach from the Old Testament and growing up in that environment, I had a Sunday school teacher at this little small Pine Grove Baptist church in Odina, Alabama, where I went with my mom to church, and she would ask us, "Do you believe that?" And I mean, when I was middle school,
She would actually let you have an opinion?
she would ask us that. I don't know that anybody else knew that she was asking the kids. Like, I think about
She
that
was
now.
subversive quietly.
She was very subversive quietly.
What happened if you said, no, I don't really believe that? Did that ever happen? Do you remember?
What I remember is us having questions. I don't know that I or anyone else said, I don't believe that.
Okay.
But I can remember people asking, well, why would God let such and such happen? And sometimes and almost all the time she would say, yeah, I don't know either.
Nice.
You know, so hearing somebody say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or you don't.
To not be totally fine with everything in it is a big deal, right?
Right.
Yeah. She modeled that very early for you.
So that's how
love it.
But I didn't go to college with the anticipation to become a PhD in biblical studies.
Yeah, me either. Yeah.
I went to college because I wanted to be a reporter, and I actually did that in another life, long time far away.
Nice. Okay.
But I ended up with a double major in religion because I was doing a major in communication with a minor in sociology.
Okay.
People study.
Great for journalists. Yeah.
Right. But I got fascinated by all these religious courses that Paula Cooley-Nichols was teaching. I was at Trinity, and she was there at the time. And Mackenzie Brown, who was teaching Eastern religions.
Yeah.
So between the two of them, I ended up taking all these religion courses because they were so fascinating.
Just for fun of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so my senior year, Dr. Williams, who was the chair of the religion department, said, come see me. I go to his office. He said, you need to take intro to religion to have a major in religion. So I took intro to religion my senior year because I had taken all these
all the others that made it checked the boxes. Just out of curiosity, but not because you were trying to get a second major. Yeah.
And so I graduated and went to be a reporter, a print reporter, and had a great job as a business reporter, which is really kind of a big deal to not do scrub things your first.
Right. That's what I was thinking. That's a big, like where did you, I mean, just who were you writing for? Or where were you?
It was the San Antonio Light.
Okay.
Which is now defunct. But
as many are.
As many are, but that's what it was. And it was across the street from First Presbyterian Church, where Louis Zabindin was the pastor. So I had this cush job, and I was miserable. I just was miserable, and I really don't have a reason for why I was miserable. I just didn't like what I was doing. I liked what I was doing when I was in college, and we started the Trinity News Service, and we would go out and do these stories and give them to the local newspapers, the community newspapers and all.
Good for you. Yeah.
So, so this is a part of my Church of God history, which is, so I started fasting, and I said, I got to figure out what's going on. This is my spiritual discipline. But if you've ever fasted, you may know that the minute you decide to fast, everybody invites you to lunch. The minute you start. So I would slip out and go over the First Presbyterian so nobody would invite me to lunch because I was, because I was fasting.
Nice.
And Lou Sabinda, one of those days, called me into his office and told me the parable of the 10 talents. He didn't know me, didn't ask me my name. He literally said, hey, and he started telling me this parable, and he said, are you going to be a big fish in a small pond, or are you going to allow God to take you out into the ocean of God's grace? Wow. No, so I should say I was already ordained in 85 by the Church of God Anderson because I had gone through their process without M.Div.
Yeah.
And he said, you need to go get an M.Div, and I'm on the board at Austin Seminary. And if you get in, my church will pay the first $1,000 towards scholarship. Nice. The man didn't even ask me my name.
Seriously, he just
seriously.
He saw something. Yeah.
So I go home. I was married. I say to my then husband, so this happened, and the same time, the Church of God wanted to know if we would be interested in starting a Church of God congregation in Austin.
Oh, wow.
So both of those things converged. And we did both of those things. Yeah.
Wow.
So I go to get my M.Div.
Right.
And Prescott Williams and Andrew Dearman. I don't know if you know Prescott Williams' work. Andrew Dearman were my Old Testament professor.
I know the name Andrew Dearman, but yeah.
And I took, because I love the Old Testament, Game of Thrones, I took to it like fish in the water, right?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I took the Hebrew like fish in water.
Yeah.
I became the Hebrew language tutor
for others.
And Prescott Williams, he of blessed memory, said to me, you need to go get a Ph.D. And Andy Dearman said, yeah, you need to go get a Ph.D. And Bill Bellinger is at Baylor, and I'm going to send you to Baylor, and blah, blah, blah. So I went to Baylor.
Yeah. Okay.
And I got enrolled the day I went.
Okay.
I got a university scholarship.
Okay.
And a full tuition remission the day I went.
Okay. Wow.
That's how I ended up getting.
That's how it happened. So you might not want to get into this.
I mean, you ask.
I love hearing people's stories, and I love the way there are actually quite a few biblical scholars who did not intend to do biblical studies, right?
We did not. I don't know how we got here.
I know, it's always a very interesting story. I started at Baylor, actually, my PhD work. Yeah. And New Testament, right? New Testament. Oh. And I was supposed to study with Sharon Dowd, right? But I also, because I love the Hebrew Bible and I love the Psalms, and I took a couple seminars with Bill Bellinger. So you didn't study with him. Like, he wasn't your dissertation. He was your dissertation? What? Okay, I feel like I need to get something straight here. Okay, wait. How was he? What was your topic? How is he okay with you?
I ended up doing my dissertation on the book of Micah, womanist reading of the book of Micah. And it was literally the first dissertation with the word womanist in it in 2002. People have been doing womanist things.
They just hadn't called it that.
Not a dissertation.
Yeah.
And
no, let's mark this for a moment. Wait, excuse me. I just want to mark this. Your dissertation was the first to outwardly state you were doing womanist work. That's a big deal. Like you said, there's still womanist things happening prior to that, but at a dissertation level,
Yeah.
That's a big deal. I just wanted to note that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, because Renita Williams is absolutely the first woman biblical scholar.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, and we are
Let's
grateful
be
to
clear.
her. Yes.
So just want
Yes.
to be clear about that.
Yeah.
But mine was the first to have that word in its title. And I don't actually like my dissertation.
Really?
Now that I read back over it, I would rewrite it and do something differently. But I was really trying to get at how do womanists read the biblical text and trying to use Micah as an example of what that was.
Yeah. So let me just put on the table my interaction with Bill. I respect the man who's very kind to me until he wasn't. And I'm not kidding. I took Psalms with him, and then I took Amos in the spring. So in the fall for the Psalm seminar, the midterm exam, right, an oral exam on the text we've studied so far, yada yada, and I did fine on the oral exam, right? And then he said, "Now, Jennifer, are you sure this is a good place for you? Are you sure you're going to be comfortable here? Because you're asking questions we just don't ask here." And and so he warned me, right? And so he shut me down. He he redirected anything I'd say, he'd counter, or he wouldn't let me speak. It was and he was protected. He was being a gatekeeper. I understand how that works and all that happens. But you were coming to your work already asking some questions of the text and challenging the text some. So I guess I was just surprised to hear that he could handle it.
Jim Kennedy, and maybe because I was Black, I don't know.
Okay, maybe.
He and Jim Kennedy, and to some extent, Michael Parsons, although Michael was the New Testament, really pushed me to do the womanist stuff, but they wouldn't let me have an outside reader. I wanted Renita Williams to be my outside reader, because what do they know about womanist?
Well, that's right. Exactly. Okay, let me just back up and say I'm glad that they pushed you and encouraged you, and that makes me happy. I just had to clarify, because I'm like, wait a minute.
This is why when people say, well, so-and-so's daddy was Black, I'm like, people have their different experiences.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's funny though.
Right? I mean, anyway, it's an interesting, anecdote about life. I'm glad. So it was a good experience for you, like the PhD work and getting to
decent enough experience. In hindsight, had I actually known what I was doing, I probably would have gone to Vandy, where Renita Williams was still working at the time.
Yeah. And you know what? That's actually where I transferred to, was Vanderbilt for my PhD work. So anyway, but she was gone before I got there. But anyway, okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate knowing some of that. So but homiletics is a whole different level, right? A whole different layer of stuff, right? That's where the rubber meets the road, right? In terms of biblical studies, is what are you doing with this in a congregation?
So because I was trying to kind of do a hermeneutic and trying to think about what is a womanist hermeneutic, that's a easy segue to what's a womanist homiletic, right?
Yes, it is. Yes.
But I wanted to teach Bible. So it took me 10 years to finish, because 3 years I got really sick and had to take off.
Okay, gotcha.
And so 202 I finished.
Okay.
That's a long story, but I got sick and had to take some medical leave. And
oh goodness, my goodness,
yeah. But anyway, when I finished, I get this phone call from Memphis Theological Seminary, and the woman on the other end said, "We're doing a homiletics search, and your name has come up in this search several times as somebody who's really an excellent preacher, and we would really like you to consider applying." And I said, "I'm not interested," and hung up the phone.
You had a headhunter call you, and you said, "Thanks."
It was like somebody from MTS.
Yeah.
And so then she called back like the next week And she said, so I know you said no, but I want to explain to you why we want you to come. She said, we want somebody who, I said, my training is not in homiletics. She said, but your training is in Bible and hermeneutics. And we want somebody who either knows theology or Bible to teach preaching. And I said, oh, that's cute. No. And I hung up the second time.
Did you really?
I did. This is true story. I am not lying. The third time she called,
That's awesome.
I said, why are you calling me? Where did you even get my name from? I was like, what? Like, I was like, I don't get it. And so she told me that Ellen Babinski, who taught history at Austin Seminary, that they had called around the Presbyterian schools, asking, because they are Cumberland Presbyterian, asking if they knew anybody who could teach preaching. And Ellen said, I know the absolute perfect person for this, blah, 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 blah. So she tells me this story, and I say, I would consider coming for an interview. No, I didn't. I said, that is really lovely. And I still don't think I want to do it, but let me think about it. And I got on the phone, and my now ex-husband, we were married for 29 years, but at the time he said, they've called you 3 times. This might be God. This is what he said. It might be God. So I called him back and I say, I would like to come for the interview. I would like to be a targeted interview. And I would like for my spouse to come.
What is a targeted interview?
I'm the only person you're talking to.
You said that.
And I was straight out of my degree. I don't know.
Badass.
I did. I promise you, I said this. And then they said, well, we can make you a targeted search, but we don't bring spouses for the interview. I said, I understand that. Thank you. And then they called me back and said, we will bring your spouse.
Nice.
I was trying everything I could to say no to them.
You were. And they kept coming back.
Conceding to everything I said. So I go. Yes, even an ex-husband can be correct sometimes. Yeah. So then I go and I do this lecture, and I used all feminine language for God in the lecture. And all,
Did you expect that to be a little bit off-putting, or were you?
Yeah, I did, because I was trying
not to be a deal breaker.
Jennifer, I wasn't trying to get the job.
I can tell.
So this guy comes up to me, black man, tall black man. He was 6 something, came up to me and he said, I was really offended he was one of the students that was on the committee. And I said, oh, really? What were you offended by? He said, well, you didn't use inclusive language. I said, well, what do you mean? When I said she, I meant everybody. And then he said, what? I said, if I'd have said he, you would have expected me. You would tell me that women should not be offended.
Right.
So I'm telling you, I said she, you should not be offended.
I just love that so much.
This was my interview. That was my first job in the academy.
And you got that job because you kind of had something to say and they respected it. I don't know. Is that?
I don't know, but I negotiated that I would not take the job if I could not also teach Hebrew Bible in some form or fashion.
Okay. And how was your time there? I mean, you were there
6 years.
Yeah.
I was there 6 years. It was good, actually. And Memphis was welcoming to me. So I got to do a lot of preaching in Memphis across a lot of denominations.
Nice.
And across ethnicities, so Memphis was good to me. I mean, I really had a good time at Memphis. It was very interesting. 6 years in,
I'm
um,
backing up. I'm sorry. I'm just sharing fun little comments
I
people are
know
making. Yep.
six six six
6 years
years
in.
in,
Mhm.
Renita Weems, who I consider a mentor and a friend,
Hmm.
called me and said, "It's time for you to leave Memphis."
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
Um,
in the fall of 2028 when she called me.
okay.
And I said, and Renita Weems, what you should know, does not give unsolicited advice,
Ah, she does not.
and she does not just give advice.
So she's been watching you.
Yeah, I mean, we
You
have
were.
been acquaintances,
Mhm.
cum friends since 1984.
Hmm.
That's how long I've known Renita.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm thankful for her mentorship and her kindness to me and for her
Mm.
friendship.
Mhm.
She is the person I call when I want to be absolutely petty. And I will say to her, I need to be petty and I need to say this. And she'll say, go for it. I got my tea, you know.
Nice.
So or she say, I'll call you back because I don't have time for petty right now. But
Uh-huh.
but I definitely want to hear that. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So she said, it's time for you to leave. And she said that, and I was at a women in leadership event at ATS, and this woman from Lancaster um, came up to me. Anna, what's Anna's prophet,
Hmm.
came up to me and said, would you talk to our dean? We're looking for somebody to teach preaching.
Hmm.
And I said, well, if I come, I would have to be able to teach Bible as well. I'm not going to teach just preaching, right?
Mhm.
Or the language or something. I mean,
Mhm. Mhm.
so she said,
Something bibiblical for you.
yeah.
Mhm.
So she
Yeah.
said, would you talk to the dean? Turns out that the dean was Ed Aponte, whom I love.
Oh,
I don't know if you know Ed
I
Aponte.
don't. I'm sorry, but I'm just appreciate
Oh
that
my
it's.
God.
Yeah.
I knew him. I knew him from AAR SBL and
Okay.
from HTI, and I've just known him.
Okay. Hispanic
Um,
Theological
yeah, the Hispanic
Institute. Yeah.
Theological
Yeah.
Initiative,
Yeah.
and
Initiative. Yeah.
just a lovely person. So I ended up doing the interview there and getting the job.
Okay.
And same thing. I asked to be a targeted search, and they agreed to that. I didn't
Your
have to.
chops are impressive.
I didn't ask to bring my spouse.
You didn't. Were you two splitting ways at that
We
point, or did
were,
you were?
we were-
Okay. Okay.
yeah. So, but I was only there for 4 years because in the 4 years that I was at Lancaster, we had a different president all 4 years I
Oh,
was there,
geez. Oh, geez.
and it was just too chaotic.
Yeah. That's where. Oh, shoot. I'm trying to think. The one guy, the one of the people in New Testament. Uh,
Greg Carey.
Gary. Yes, Gary's
Carey.
there. Yeah.
Greg
Okay.
Carey.
Greg Carey. Thank you, Greg Carey. Okay. Yes, that's Lancaster. Same school. Okay.
Mhm.
That was 4 years in a row. Okay. Of very turbulent. How do you even kind of do anything like get settled into your own work when that's happening yeah. It's a lot of
Yeah.
time. Yeah. So it's from there you went to your current position?
Yeah.
Okay.
I walked off the job. I mean, I resigned. I didn't just walk off. I resigned at Lancaster without a job because I was like, this is too chaotic.
Yeah.
And the president at the time was like, well, what are you going to do? Who walks away from a tenured job?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm a Black woman in America. I know how to live.
Mm.
That's what I said.
Mm-hmm.
So I left, and that
Hmm.
was in May of 2003. In November 2003, Jay Rondell, who's the president here, and I were both, it might have been December, we were both at the Academy of Homiletics. And he walked to me and said, you need an institution and we need a womanist. Come be a visiting professor.
Mm.
And I was like, dear God, I do not want to be in Central Ohio. It's got to be worse than being in Central Alabama. You know, I'm just saying. That's
I
what
had similar thoughts when I interviewed there. Yeah. In Central Ohio. Mm-hmm.
right. And so he said, listen, come be a visiting professor. You can still do, because I was pretty much living on the gig economy. lecturing where I could and
Mm-hmm.
preaching where I could. That's how I was paying my bills.
Gotcha. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so I came here in February 2014 rather. I left Lancaster in 2013.
Yeah.
I think I said something else, but 2013.
Yeah.
And got here in 2014 as a visiting professor. The next year they said, would you stay? And I said, you all have to interview me as a targeted search, because nobody's going to say that I came in back door. You got to go through all the processes.
Okay. Yeah.
They were like, but we know we want you. I said, today you know that. But I need to come in by the book.
That is interesting that you had to say that instead of them saying, we want this to be by the book. Interesting. I'm glad you did, right?
Yeah. So, and I've been here since then, since 2014.
Okay.
That's the 11 years to here. I became the dean 8 years ago. So,
oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And I get to teach preaching when I don't get to teach as much now, obviously, as the dean. I teach one class a year typically.
Okay. Yeah. Huh. Are you teaching something this fall? No.
And I'm going to be on sabbatical and administrative leave in the spring.
Oh, good
for me.
Yes, right. Do you have a particular project on the docket for your?
Yeah, I gotta finish the commentary in the wisdom series on Job.
Okay. Yeah. So for those who are
I don't
watching,
know that I'm going to finish it, but I'm going to get a lot done on it if I can.
So for those watching, you have been working on one commentary with a colleague, and then you've also been asked to contribute to a series called the Wisdom Commentary. I'm not sure what this,
it's called the Wisdom Commentary Series.
Yeah, which
is Chalice Press.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and anytime I see one of our colleagues have theirs come out, they're very proud, and I always go read, see what they're kind of trying to bring a little bit more beyond just traditional engagement. It seems it's very actively being centered the non-traditional engagements. Is that a fair summary to say?
Which is kind of why I'm glad to do that.
Yeah, right.
The Job piece, because I find Job a fascinating book. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to say more about why you find Job a fascinating book?
Well, so I should say that my favorite book in the Old Testament is Ecclesiastes.
Okay.
Without the added.
Right, at the end?
At the end.
There's last 11 verses or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that you're saying
4,
that.
Actually.
Oh, is it only 4? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But the reason is because I like the Old Testament, and in the wisdom tradition, you know the story. Proverbs says, if you do A, you get B. Job says, I did A and then some, and I got Z. I didn't.
That's not how it worked for me.
This didn't follow the formula.
That's right.
And Ecclesiastes says, whatever. It's like, eat, drink, and be merry.
That's right. You just don't know. Yep.
You just don't know.
Live for today.
It rains on the just and the unjust. Who knows?
It does. It's my
Time
favorite
and chance happens to everybody. That's why I like Ecclesiastes.
Me too. Yeah.
For that reason.
It's very honest. My online student, I teach Hebrew Bible actually in intro to 4 times a year in an online setting. Yeah.
Oh, really? Where?
Yeah. And when we get to the wisdom literature to the end, it's really fun because some students who didn't grow up with any kind of religious training are like, oh, this is really, I can relate to this. I get this. This makes sense to me. They've been reading the prophets and Genesis and all kinds of, this resonates. Yeah, it does.
I'll tell you a quick story here. When I first started here, I had a student join one of my Women in the Bible class. And he said he came in, he took the class to make sure that I was teaching women appropriately.
Oh no, I was afraid you were going to say that. No.
I was tickled.
Okay.
I was tickled.
That's a great response.
I was tickled. I was like, oh, this is going to be cute.
This is going to be fun. Cute. I love that. This is going to be cute. Yeah.
So we're reading Deuteronomy 5,
Yeah.
where the woman has, the
I
story.
but you can describe it if you want. But yeah.
Where we're going to find out if you had an affair by poisoning you.
Yes.
And if the baby dies.
Yeah. Yep.
And so we read it in class, because the other thing was somebody had told him that people didn't read the Bible at MTSO because we talk about social justice.
Oh, right. Yeah, because there's no overlap there.
There's no Venn diagram.
None.
Justice in the Bible
Right.
had anything to do with it. Anyway, he was mortified, and it shook him to his core. And I just let him sit in his mortification, and he was like, I didn't know that was in the Bible. I said, my hunch is there are a lot of things in the Bible you didn't know were there. I said, because we read the canon we want to read. We skip some things. And I said, so when people tell me they read the quote whole counsel of the Bible, they're lying. So when I say we're going to do something radical in this class, we're going to actually read the Bible. That enough will shake you up.
It will, if you're paying attention.
If you're paying attention.
Yeah, if you're reading actively. Yep, it will.
Anyway.
It will. Yeah, I like that. He's someone just trying to make sure this woman is doing things correctly.
Right. That's exactly what he said. I promise you. I was like, I really was tickled.
Yeah, I bet.
He was in his 20s.
Yes, right. I mean, the hubris is impressive, right? 20-year-olds,
like I've been doing this wrong longer than you've been alive.
Right? Yeah. Yep. Oh, I love it. Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Yep. I am wondering, I've been trying not to, I really try to focus on the conversation with my guest, but as you saw, I was trying to bring some of the comments in. I'm wondering if anyone has any questions for Dr. Bridgeman here. Can we talk about Job? Before we need to wrap this up, we have a few minutes left, and I saw that someone was very curious about trans issues, and I'm not sure if that's worth bringing in. I happen to know where you stand on trans issues, that you affirm the humanity of people, and want trans rights or human rights. So anyway, I'm just curious, for those of you watching here with us, if you have any questions specifically for Valerie, that would be lovely if you could throw those in the comments right now. And looks like we might not, but yeah. So I want to make sure, is there anything else that you're working on or up to that you would like people to know about?
No, I do want to invite people to go out to WomanPreach.org.
Yeah.
And we're celebrating in October. And I want people to come, whether they've ever come to a Woman Preach event thing or not, and just come and be with us and celebrate with us and learn alongside of us. So Woman Preach is woman, not women. WomanPreach.org. And yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Woman, as in a command to a woman to preach.
As in
right?
preach, woman.
Preach it, woman. Yes. You've got the gift. You've got this, right? Use it. Go do it. Yeah. We do have a question. We have a couple questions, actually. Let me see. Becca Eller, I'm so delighted for all the people to see who's here chatting today. And
my hot take on Abraham and Isaac. So one of my favorite poems is written by Jahaz Zainabu, Zainabu. And I would tell you to go out on YouTube, Google her and the word Dear Isaac. Her poem, where she talks about, what if it wasn't about his faith, Abraham's faith, but about your faith? Like, basically, we would call Abraham with regard to the Akeda, if we heard that story right now, we would say, oh, he was psychotic. He had a
Right.
psychotic break.
Right.
I know we are not supposed to say that right now because
No.
it's in the Bible.
No,
But
but you can say it here.
but if somebody lifted a knife over
Yes.
a child's
Yes.
head
Yes.
and told you that, in the poem, Jahaz says, did you flinch every time he called your name after that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What did he say about his God that made you stay?
Mm.
You know, when it says you were his only son, they could not have forgotten about Ishmael,
I've just been saying, having this conversation.
she says.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
that's how the world is, you know, they forget women and children. Did you go lay your head on your mother's lap? What did he say coming down the mountain?
What did you say to Sarah?
And,
Right?
and she says, what about all those people who did not get ram in the bush?
Exactly. Thank you.
Right? So that's my hot take. My hot take is go listen to Jahazianabu's poem.
Nice. Thank you. And I love that you promoted her work, and I meant to. So let me actually really quickly, we spell her last name again for me, please?
Zainabu.
Thank you. Okay.
Jaha Zainabu. Yeah.
Thank you. I think we have time. We do need to just my unique Monique. How is Dr. Bridgeman navigating encouraging women in such a challenging space and time we find ourselves in right now?
This is probably a good question to end on.
Yeah.
My unique Monique. You know, I will say this: the gospel was never meant to be easy, and biblical interpretation was never meant to be easy. So part of my encouragement for women is, you know, put your big women's panties on, take a deep breath, and take courage. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not going to have people push back, lash back. I mean, I'm on some watch list that conservatives have. I get threats. Oh yeah. Yeah. And all of that. But I think freedom is worth it for me. And so I know everybody can't do it the same way, but I encourage people, do what you can where you are. I just had a conversation with somebody today about what they're doing at their church, and I was very impressed with her. She's a very progressive person, stuck in the backwaters, very conservative church. But they are coming to love and to love her, and therefore to love her questions because she answers them and loves them.
She cares about them. Yes.
About them. And so I really think people are mostly afraid more than anything. And if you hold them tenderly, even the people that I just want to pray imprecatory prayers against, it's just fear. I think we owe it to them and to ourselves to be as authentic as we can. That's it.
It's a lovely. Thank you. It is a nice note to end on. Yeah. Reverend Dr. Valerie Bridgeman, thank you for joining me. I'm going to kick you out here for very briefly, and I'll see you when we're done. All right. That wraps it up for today. Thank you all, for those of you who are able to be here, wanted to, and were able to be here with us live. I appreciate that. Thank you for all the ways you support me and the work I'm trying to do. I appreciate, if this is your first time checking out some of my work, I'd love it if you'd subscribe to the channel. Anytime you do something like that, engage, subscribe to a channel, like a video, comment on a video, anything like that, it helps other people who are interested in the same content to find me. So I appreciate any of those efforts. I also appreciate, as I said, as I had a banner indicating at the beginning, I appreciate those who have joined my membership on my channel, one of the membership levels on my channel, or supporting me through Patreon. I appreciate that. Tells me that you appreciate me and are giving me a vote of confidence to keep going. So thank you. We're gonna head out here with some music, and I'll be back next week, perhaps a little bit later than normal, but I'll be back, and even maybe a couple times in between doing more of the Genesis. So thanks for being here, folks. Take care.